Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this new side project. I'm going to call it a side project because it's not one of these big projects that I do, but while I prepare the next one, then I've got a side project. Some of you might have seen this chuck glider that I built, and it's the best trim thing I have. It actually did fly maybe 10-15 meters, and I go on flying it over the bed, and it does fly well. I have to take it out someday also. But basically I took the plan, I built it, and I built a small version, and then I doubled the size, and this actually is flying pretty nicely. So I'm quite satisfied with this. I think what I particularly like of this glider, even if it's a chuck glider, is that it has a body fuselage. Somehow that is attractive to me. It's not just a stick with wings attached, it's got a fuselage. I don't know why I like it, but it somehow got that structure that I'm enjoying. What I did do, I was following the instruction that I'd seen on YouTube, and I built the template. So I put on some card, I don't know where I have, but I've got some card. I printed it out, I cut it basically to be able to trace it out on wood again. So I took out, I think it's 9 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm going to build another one, but as you might see, I've got a propeller here. So the plan is to not to modify this one as it flies nicely, but it's to install a rubber motor. My rubber powered planes are very bad, they don't fly, so I'm thinking also going back to basics, trying to build something that flies. So I'm going to put probably a peg somewhere here in the back, and then somehow attach the motor up front. So the whole nose block is actually going to be like a propeller nose block. I've got some ideas how to do it, either a bearing from one of the old kits or the pop rivet maybe to use as a bearing, and then basically use the whole nose block, build it without the nose, and then use the block kind of as to, we have to adjust then the thrust down into the right. So that is basically then the plan. I'm going to leave this one aside, and then the first thing that I did, of course, well, first of all came up with the idea, and also went to get some wood. So let me bring down my wood collection. I've got a lot of scraps in a lot of places, but also got some wood. So let's see what I have. I think this is 1mm, that's for the bow fighter. This is 1.5, so yes, I can use this. Maybe the tail fits on this even. Look at that, the tail will fit on this. This is quite hard actually, but yeah, I can use it. This is 2mm, so I won't use this one. These are the two new. I've got 1.5 and 1.5. Those are the two new sheets that I got. But before putting everything away, I want to see if I have any other. This is 2.5. There's another 1.5 scrap. That's quite a nice one, so for sure I'll be able to use this one for some of the components. 6mm, that stays. This I think is 10 to the stick off, and there's another 6mm. Somehow I like 6mm. That's 1/4 inch 6mm. Interesting how the sizes of balsa wood are aligned to the imperial, even if we call them in millimeters. In some cases, somehow it's very evident that it comes from the imperial numbers. But anyhow, so I put this wood then back up, and I've got there the pieces of the 1.5mm. I'm going to build it out of 1.5, same as this one, and it's got some modifications. Like instead of having one rib on each wing, I put two, and I think that worked well. So I'll be doing that again probably, but I'm going to leave the wings for the end. For that I probably need at least one of these. Yeah, it fits there quite snug. So one of these sheets is going to be for the wing, so that I'll put away. And basically you don't need to see me doing all these details like sorting out the wood, but it's also part of the fun. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the fuselage, because that's the fun part, and that's where the whole motor is going to go. So that's going to be the difficult part. So the fuselage is going to come first, and then eventually then the tail and the wing and all that. So also the nose block could be there, but fuselage, the two formers that go here, which I'll have to probably make, and then make holes with it, make holes into them so that the rubber motor can go through it. So while I was thinking and setting this up already, I was thinking of the next project with this, because now that I have the templates, why not? And I've got an idea maybe to make a double fuselage, a twin powered rubber motor, because those do also look interesting. But let's see if I can get a single engine rubber motor model to fly, and that's the first thing, and then we'll take it from there. So anyhow, follow along on this one, and I'll bring you some updates when I've got something. A brief update on the motorization of the chuck glider. So I've got the fuselage parts, 2 of them, that's one, and what I've done, I've made a hole in the back. If I take the one that is not motorized as reference, so I'm putting it just ahead of the tail plane so that I can maybe manipulate or control it or something like that, and it doesn't get in the way. And I've reinforced it also with some plywood on both sides, on both fuselage sides, so that it's stronger, basically. Yeah, so that it doesn't rip apart. I don't think it would, but then I have at least a bit more confidence. That's one of the sides of the fuselage. Then here's the other one, also with the reinforcements, and on this one I've already put in the formers, basically the 2 formers that will help give shape to the fuselage. What I've done, and I don't know if you can see it, I've drawn a line with a pencil from that hole to more or less where I think the propeller shaft is going to go, basically by taking the shape of the nose and kind of at the thickest point, more or less. It doesn't need to be completely accurate, but that then helped me determine where to make the holes on the formers, because on the chuck glider it's solid on the formers, so but now I need a little hole for the rubber motor to go through. So that's that on the fuselage progress. And what I've started to do is I'm cutting out the nose block. I'm going to do, like, the center part is going to be a 10mm block, and now I'm going to do out of the 6mm block 2 more to sandwich it. Once it's in shape, I'm going to have to drill it to make a hole through it that I can put there the pop rivet or some kind of a bearing for the motor. And my intention is then to create a plug. Basically, if I take this one, kind of a plug that I can then, this one is completely solid, glued in solid, right, so I can't take it out, but this one that I could take out, manipulate the motor, change the motor, wind the motor up and things like that, and put it back on. So that's going to be then the activity. Probably I'll put maybe a 6mm plug, because I've got the wood here, and maybe even reinforce it with some plywood, so that the propeller shaft is somehow as straight as can be, kind of, right? So that's a bit of the engineering that I have to be doing now, and actually the fun part. Then after that will be the wing and things like that, which is kind of a repetition of what we had. So I'll continue with this kind of on the way engineering, and when I have something to show, I'll come back. So the progress is on the fuselage. I've managed to glue then the ends, the rear ends, but what's more interesting, I want to show you, let's see if I can show this. I've got this huge drill press. I thought it was a small one, but it's a huge mechanical one, which is not quite true. It's a little bit crooked. You can see there, in spite of all the mess I have in the background. So what I've done, I've prepared the nose block. There's the nose block. It's 10mm in the middle and sandwiched between 2 6mm, and I've also got a pop rivet, the pop part of the pop rivet, which I think is like 3mm. So I'm going to use a 2mm drill bit, because it's a little bit wonky, that whole drill press, and I'm going to try to make use of it. I think I could probably do it by hand, but as I wasted time and effort on getting it, let's see what happens. So I can't fix it in place, so what I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to hold it here manually and try to drill through it, and you tell me if I'm crooked. So I think I'm through. So let's see if I can pull it up. Yeah, I think I'm through because I'm picking up also the block of wood underneath. Yeah, so I'm completely through, which is good. Not sure how much I went into that. And now I take this out, hopefully. And there I should have, and then you can see it. I'll move you because the background I think is distracting. There's where I think I have, hopefully, a perpendicular hole. Now I think it might not be big enough because there's a 3mm and I put in a 2mm bit, but if I push it in, I crush the wood. That might be, maybe it's not a good idea. So I'll switch out the bit for a bit of a wider one, not very much, not much bigger, and then try to put in the pop rivet. And then after that I'm going to have to figure out how to plug this in into the nose part of the fuselage. So anyhow, at least I'm using the tools I have, right, which is also part of the fun. So some steady progress building the fuselage. So I've used a lot of pins, as you can see, to hold things in place. So let me take them off, because when I was building the other model, as the nose block was glued in, then I could just glue it to that, but now I don't want to glue the nose block in. So now let me take out all the pins. It's going to have a lot of small holes everywhere, but some I'll be able to carve out. And then the test is going to be if I can take the nose block out, actually, because what I did, I put some sellotape on the spots where I thought it would come in touch with glue. There. And it comes out, which is great. So there's the sellotape, as you see, and then if I take it off, now it should be okay. And now I'm going to have a nose block where I already have the pop rivet inside. I've got the block to use as a plug, and I need to drill through probably with a wire just to make the hole. And now the nose block can fit in here. It could be a little bit more snug, to be open. It's a little bit, I might need to put in a little bit of fill somewhere, but this would also allow, in case I need to adjust to the right and down, it will give me a bit of space to create the shim there. So that's basically that part. So now I'm going to continue with the nose block, maybe build up a little bit so it's a bit more of a snug fit, and then probably do the motor, the rubber band, and then continue with the fuselage. So, and I've managed to finish kind of the nose block for the propeller. I've used the guidance of Max Fly Art. I don't know if you know him on YouTube. He's probably, if you're watching my channel, you probably already know he's an expert in free flight models, and he did a series of free flight basic, which is actually fantastic. So I used the same hook style that he's recommending there, and I wanted to put in a bead as a bearing for the propeller, but the wire that I'm using, it's too thick, so it didn't fit. So I'm using just two what are these called, sequins. I always forget that word. So anyhow, that is pretty much there, and this fits on kind of snugly, relatively snugly, here on the nose, right? So there it is. I've started then to put also the plank in top and bottom to give it that shape, to convey it that shape. It is a little bit more bulky and chunkier if I compare with the free flight, with the glider. It's a little bit chunkier, but it's okay. Like it could be a little bit smoother, a little bit better, but it is what it is. And now what I want to do, again, I'm going to dig up that series from Max Fly Art. I've got it open. It's called Free Flight Basics, and the first chapter he goes about braiding rubber motors. So I've got some rubber here. I'm not sure how much to put in or not. I'm always very confused with the guidance that is on the plans, not on this one of course, when you say that they have 1 or 2 loops. So is this a loop, or is this a double loop? I don't know what the loop is basically. So I've got this that I think I can split in two, and I could make actually a one loop motor, and then I could use maybe the other half as a separate and put it together as a two loop motor potentially, right? So anyhow, I'm going to watch that video again. It's for sure very entertaining and very interesting, and see if I can braid a motor. In terms of distance, this is half. If I go, let's say, to a quarter, because it would be a loop, right? The peg is down here, and then I don't know if you can see this, and it's, I would say, like 1.5 the distance between the peg and the motor, which I think is kind of okay. I think that 1.5, I have a feeling I've heard somebody, maybe Cliff or somebody, mentioning 1.5 distance is okay, because when it's braided it's then actually shorter, and when it's wound up, of course, it's even shorter, right? So that's basically the plan now, to attempt the rubber motor. I managed finally to braid the motor. It took me a couple of attempts, and I had to trim it off because when I braided it, I thought it was longer, but it, surprisingly to me at least, it did not shrink as much as I was expecting. So it was pretty much the same length as when it started off, so I had to cut it down. I'm using, I don't have a winder like the pros have, so I have a kitchen mixer, an old kitchen mixer that was quite cheap, with a paper clip at the end to hook the thing on. So I use that. I've calculated each turn of the wheel is like 5.5 turns, so it does help at least for the braiding, and maybe eventually also for the winding. But basically now I've put it in there. I've got now like, I think, 50 winds. Let's see if you can see it. I'll just let it unwind, and it seems to, as you can see, unwind. It's still maybe a little bit too long, but I can always shorten it. But it seems to unwind completely, and then hopefully then the weight is distributed equally, and then it doesn't mess up the center of gravity in mid-flight. So that's the progress I have now. I've also started to do a little bit of the covering. I'm going to leave quite a big section open. I'm not sure if maybe this big, maybe I might put a little bit still in, because it is not easy to thread the skewer through the motor in case I need to change it, or I want to change it. And then I'll also put in one piece here on top. It comes up to here. I've already marked it, so two actually. I probably need two pieces. Where do I have the balsa? I've lost or mislaid my balsa sheet somewhere, and basically like cover it up, and then with that then the fuselage will be ready, and then I continue then with the tail surfaces and the wings, both wings. And continuing with good progress, what I've managed to do, I've managed to basically finish the fuselage and sand it already down the corners so it looks nice and smooth, and I've cut already out all the other pieces. There's the fin, that is the tail skid, and the stabilizer, no elevator, and also then the wings. I already also cut out the ribs, and this is how I'm doing it. So first I'm gluing the front part of the ribs, and then basically once that is dry, then I gluing also then the rear part of the ribs, and that gives then the shape of the wing. So now I'm out of these pegs that I use because they are not too strong. I have some stronger ones. They look like this, but these, I'm afraid, they crush the wood. Just time is the wood. They crush the wood, so I don't want to use them. So I'll wait until this wing is dry, and then I'll use then two of those then on the other wing. And then once all that is done, there'll be a sanding process again for the wing. And maybe in between also I can start to glue then the tail part also. That's also something that I can probably maybe already do now. I might get onto it. And here it is, with the glue still setting. Here is the final completed rubber powered chuck glider. You can't see the propeller now. There it is. So basically I've just assembled the whole pieces, glued them with a white glue, so it's a game of patience. Takes a couple of hours, not of constant work, but of gluing and doing something else, coming back, sanding, gluing again, trying to get it all somehow eyeballed in the center. And what I want to do now, just a little bit of an experiment, if I manage, I want to get out the scales and see how much each of them weighs. So let's see how I do that. You probably won't see it, but I'll say the numbers So I'm going to put this there, and now that is at 0. I'll do it in grams because I'm still not good with ounces. So the chuck glider that flies quite well with all its full nose weight, it's 55.28, so a bit over 55 grams with quite a lot of weight in the nose. So let's put this aside, and let's see the rubber powered model. That was 55 point a little bit, and this one is all up. This is 48, so it's a little bit lighter, but it has nothing in the nose. So I might still need to do, and I'm assuming I'm going to need to do still some balancing. I might throw it over the bed now, because now I think I'm still going to need some nose weight. But actually this, I'm holding it at the wingtips, and it seems to be relatively well balanced. Let's see how the other one actually balances. It balances somewhere in a similar place. I have the feeling it's heavier on the nose, does the glider. The balance might be further forward, but by how much and by how much weight, that's what I'm going to have to figure out. So I think this one might still need a little bit of nose weight. If I do need nose weight, I'm thinking I'll probably carve maybe a gap in the nose block and try to put their weight. If I need 5 grams, for example, I use these weights from the tires. If you go to the car mechanic and they change the tires, here we change tires for summer and winter, so twice a year, and I can just pick up those 5 grams and 10 grams, so it's mostly 5 gram weights, and I would maybe use one there, but I'm not sure yet. So I think I'm going to still wait a little bit that the glue is completely set, and then I'll throw it over the bed and see how it behaves. But I'm going to leave it here, because then the other process, the trimming and the flying, that's a whole new chapter, and it needs time, and it needs good weather, and it needs energy, and it needs a lot of skills. So I'm going to leave it there. So this is it for the rubber powered version of the chuck glider. Thank you everybody for following along and for watching on this one, and I'll see you next time.